Hi. Due to the wide range of potential applications of ChatGPT and its ease of use, one of its major challenges is deciding when to use it. In this video, we'll learn about common use cases of ChatGPT to begin streamlining our own workflows. We'll understand how to evaluate a use case as a suitable application and consider the legal and ethical implications. Finally, we'll learn about the key factors that will decide the future of generative AI models like ChatGPT. In the first part of this video, we'll focus on when to use ChatGPT and how to scale its adoption safely and responsibly. In any role, we develop workflows to achieve some end goal through a standardized series of tasks. These workflows are often molded through years of experience, experimentation, and innovation to achieve a high-quality end goal in a timely manner. These workflows inevitably contain some time-consuming and repetitive tasks, but many of these can now be performed by ChatGPT. These augmented workflows can ultimately improve the quality and timeliness of the end goal. Let's say that we've been scoping a complex project, and the resulting document is 30 pages long. We need to summarize the key findings for other stakeholders, so we decide whether the project gets the go-ahead. The standard workflow here would be for us to scan through the document, extract the key findings, and compile the summary by hand. Then, we might use a spelling and grammar checker to proofread. This process is extremely time-consuming, and minus the spell checker, we had to do most of the legwork. With ChatGPT, the roles of people and technology in this workflow can be reversed. We can ask ChatGPT to summarize the document for us with a well-engineered prompt. Then, we proofread the final review for accuracy before sending. This relatively small change provides time savings and allows us to focus our time on more creative and higher-value tasks. So who can benefit from ChatGPT-powered workflows, and which industries? A business is made up of many roles with vastly different workflows, considerations, and measurable outputs. Marketing often generates public-facing content, HR handles sensitive data on personnel, and technical roles in IT, data, or software engineering write complex code or design systems. Fortunately, all industries and roles can benefit from integrating ChatGPT into their workflows. ChatGPT's contribution will differ significantly from role to role, and there are some ownership and privacy considerations that we'll discuss later in the course, but let's take a look at some common use cases for these roles. Business leaders not only make key decisions to steer the direction of the company but need to communicate the vision and direction to the wider business. Leaders can use ChatGPT to help compose emails, draft presentations, brainstorm strategic ideas, and summarize meeting notes. In these use cases, it's still advisable to verify the generated content depending on the complexity and stakes involved. Software engineers, data practitioners, and other technical roles spend a lot of their time writing code, and the typical workflow often includes repetitive tasks like looking up code syntax and writing documentation. These roles can use ChatGPT to recall code syntax and generate examples, explain code, troubleshoot errors, and even write documentation to accompany the code. HR and people teams can use ChatGPT to brainstorm initiatives for improving employee engagement and well-being and allow them to communicate more effectively and efficiently with other employees. Marketing teams are responsible for increasing brand and product awareness. Marketing teams can use ChatGPT to write social media posts, help with copy editing human-written content, and create all types of text-based marketing copy. ChatGPT can even help with optimizing content for search engines if the target keywords are provided. The goal of sales teams is to acquire new customers, so their workflow often involves communicating with internal stakeholders for product information and also outreach to generate leads and opportunities. Sales teams can harness ChatGPT to generate outreach templates, personalize outreach content for greater effectiveness, brainstorm approaches and strategy, and summarize information from internal stakeholders. Now let's move on to identifying use cases for ChatGPT. Deciding when it's appropriate to use ChatGPT isn't easy and requires considering ChatGPT's capabilities and limitations and the requirements of the use case. In this video, we'll provide a framework in the form of key questions to validate the suitability of ChatGPT for a particular use case. The first question to ask ourselves is if we require a high degree of accuracy in the response. ChatGPT can be inaccurate, and there's no predictability in its response, so two people providing the same prompt often get different responses. If the use case requires certainty in the quality of the response, such as government policy advisory, ChatGPT would be an unsafe option. Next, we should evaluate whether someone is able to verify the quality of the response. This is where subject matter expertise still plays a huge part in the workflow. A good rule of thumb is to not ask ChatGPT to do something that we couldn't do ourselves given enough time. If we can't verify the correctness or quality of the result, it would be irresponsible to begin using it to drive decisions or surfacing it to customers. The use case may require inputting sensitive data, such as customers' personal information or company source code. Enabling a use case involving sensitive data is difficult. We need to acquire the necessary consent to process the data, as well as ensuring that the applicable data governance laws, such as GDPR or CCPA, are being adhered to. For these use cases, it's best to seek legal counsel that specializes in data governance. Finally, ask whether ownership over the response is required. Ownership will likely be required if we intend to generate revenue from the response. Providing that users comply with OpenAI's terms of use, they can claim ownership over the output in many cases, but other considerations, such as copyright infringement, may prevent ownership. We'll dive deeper into the legalities and ethics of using ChatGPT a little later in the course. If the use case doesn't require ownership, dive right in and begin testing. Let's apply this framework to evaluate some use cases. Let's say we're an HR manager concerned with recent employee survey results, which have shown a decrease in overall employee happiness. We'd like to brainstorm ideas for improving employee well-being and ask ChatGPT for suggestions. Is this a suitable use case? As we're only looking for suggestions, we don't require a high degree of correctness in the results, and as an HR manager, we can use our expertise to verify the quality of the responses to ensure they align with company values. Finally, sensitive data isn't required, and we won't be using the generated text, so don't require ownership. This is a suitable use case for ChatGPT. Let's now say that we work for a major healthcare provider, and to alleviate increasing wait times to see a doctor, we want to provide an online treatment recommendation system built on ChatGPT. People will input their symptoms, and ChatGPT would be used to provide the best course of action, taking over-the-counter medication, consulting with a doctor, or visiting the hospital. Is this a suitable use of ChatGPT? This use case requires a high level of precision due to the potentially serious implications of incorrect recommendations, and ChatGPT cannot provide this certainty. This is an unsuitable application of ChatGPT. Let's now discuss ownership and privacy in more detail. Ownership and privacy are two key considerations when scoping ChatGPT's suitability for a particular use case. Neglecting to consider these factors, especially for companies, can bring with it financial penalties, lawsuits, and damage to customer trust and brand image. We'll first discuss the response, as this is ultimately how value will be delivered to users. Establishing ownership over the response is crucial, especially if we intend on integrating ChatGPT into revenue-generating products. As stated in OpenAI's terms of use, providing that users comply with the terms, they can claim ownership to the output. This is great, but before we begin celebrating, let's dig a little deeper into these terms. Before we can claim ownership of the generated content, we need to comply with OpenAI's terms of use. From these terms, there are three key considerations. First, we cannot claim ownership over responses that are considered non-unique, as they can also be generated for other users. If we use a prompt with a small number of likely responses, such as asking factual questions or requesting very short pieces of text, we cannot claim ownership over the response. Second, we can't claim that responses from ChatGPT were human-generated. For products or tools built on top of ChatGPT, we'll need to ensure that customers aren't under the misapprehension that the generated content is human-generated. Finally, ChatGPT can't be used to infringe on a person's rights, which includes copyright infringement. OpenAI update their terms of use fairly regularly, so be sure to double-check them before giving the green light. Copyright prevents people from using intellectual property without prior consent from the owner. If AI-generated content bears similarity to content protected by copyright, we're at risk of receiving an infringement claim from the owner of the IP. Now let's discuss ownership over the prompt. As we might expect, OpenAI's terms state that the user owns the input as far as permitted by the law. Although this addresses ownership over the prompt, there are other considerations to be aware of. OpenAI are continuously developing ChatGPT to improve its performance, and one way this is being achieved is by analyzing users' prompts and responses. If we're interacting with ChatGPT via the web page and don't want this data being used for performance improvements, we'll need to contact OpenAI to opt out of this usage agreement. Inputting sensitive data without the proper consent could risk breaching data governance laws, so it's always important to check the specific terms and applicable laws. Data governance laws govern how data and information can be collected, stored, and used to protect people's personal data. One of the biggest and most established data governance laws is GDPR, which governs data usage in EU countries. Data governance laws already place restrictions on how sensitive data can be used, so any use case for ChatGPT must not only satisfy OpenAI's terms of use but must also adhere to the applicable data governance laws. Aside from the legalities of enabling a use case, we should also stop to consider the ethics. Data ethics is a field dedicated to ensuring that data is used with people and society's best interests in mind. Although this is a fairly loose definition and not legally binding, we should still ensure that enabling our use case won't adversely impact society and, desirably, bring an overall positive impact. Now, let's get to advancements in generative AI. Now, we'll discuss the exciting future of generative AI models, like ChatGPT, as well as some of the key hurdles to overcome. As with all technological advancements, we expect better performance with time, but let's define what we mean by better performance. Generative AI models produce content, so it's natural to compare what they can produce with what people can. We expect that generative AI models will produce content that much more closely resembles human-generated content. We also expect generative AI models to tackle more complex instructions and questions with greater reliability. So what will drive these improvements? Recall that ChatGPT, and other text-generating AI models, have a large language model at their heart. The LLM learns patterns and structure in language from being given a huge amount of text data to learn from, which we call training data. Algorithms then detect language patterns by looking at the frequency and order of words in the training data, and finally, the model is fine-tuned through iterative processes that involves rating the quality of responses. The amount of available training data will continue to increase, so models should develop a deeper understanding of language, including complex language expressions, such as sarcasm and idioms. Additionally, many generative AI models collect usage data, including user ratings of the generated content. This data allows developers to continue to fine-tune the model while it is live. Let's discuss a few hurdles related to these improvements. Although there will be more training data that models can learn from, a big challenge will be ensuring that the data is balanced and high quality. Due to the sheer quantity and unstructured nature of the training data, reducing bias before training the model is difficult. As generative AI begins to become an integral part of day-to-day life, more robust procedures to mitigate bias will need to be developed. As AI-generated content becomes more human-like, there will be more opportunities for misuse, such as representing AI-generated content as human-generated or using AI to create malicious content, such as spam emails. Because of the potential for misuse, we can expect governments and lawmakers to take a more active role in AI usage through regulatory measures, which could help or hinder advancements. As we've seen, ChatGPT is able to perform a very broad range of tasks, from generating marketing materials to writing and explaining code. In the future, we'll likely see more specialized models developed to generate content within a narrower scope. An example of this would be a model specifically designed to generate code from a description. More specialized models generally performed better than generalized models, as they're trained on the data most relevant to their application and fine-tuned to specific use cases. As well as text generation, generative AI models already exist to generate images, audio, and even video. These models operate under the same principles as ChatGPT, where training data is gathered, and a set of algorithms detects the patterns to develop its understanding, which it uses to generate new content. ChatGPT has opened the door to the wide-scale adoption of generative AI, and a key factor in its success is accessibility. One crucial requirement to continue the adoption of generative AI is ensuring the democratization of AI tools so everyone has access to the benefits of this amazing technology. We hope you enjoyed the course and now feel confident and prepared to begin superpowering yourself with ChatGPT. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to stay updated about our upcoming videos about artificial intelligence. See you in the next video.